Welcome back, guys. Hope you've been having a wonderful weekend. We've got a few updates to go over regarding the ongoing situation with the SAG-AFTRA voice actors and Hoyoverse, with many people across the internet, and the Genshin Impact community especially, calling out the SAG-AFTRA voice actors, essentially saying that the SAG-AFTRA VAs are being deceptive and manipulative, are basically gaslighting people about the truth of their strike, as anyone who looks into the situation can easily see that it's much more than the whole AI claims that the SAG-AFTRA VAs are trying to make. The finer details making it seem like SAG-AFTRA, the union, is really making some kind of power play, trying to essentially monopolize the industry, as people put it. This, of course, would come with many negative repercussions for non-union voice actors, despite the damage control that a number of people from the union have been trying to make, which, as we discussed yesterday, has not been going well for them at all, as people are seeing right through it. People are also pointing out double standards and hypocrisy that these union VAs have, for example, conveniently breaking their own Global 1 rule, in which it seems like these union VAs never should have been working on Hoyoverse games to begin with. Despite that, many of them are now essentially trying to control who Hoyoverse can even work with. Then there's all the double standards with how some of them claim Jacob Takanashi is scabbing and going out to harass the guy, but turning a blind eye to some of the people in their very own clique who are essentially doing the same thing. The point being that all of this, and plenty of stuff I haven't mentioned in this brief introduction, is causing many people across the internet to have a very rapidly growing distaste towards these SAG-AFTRA union voice actors. But yeah, of course, there's more details than all that. Hopefully you've been keeping up with the news, whether that's from the videos that I've been making here on the channel or elsewhere on the internet. And so thanks for your patience. On to the updates. We'll start with this tag I got from Serious Lupin that says, "Hi Hero Hey, saw your latest video about the VA drama. Could you also talk about this?" Linking to a Reddit post and saying pretty much every post talking bad about the VA union in the official Genshin Reddit is being mass reported. First of all, thank you for the tag. And yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in this video, as well as a number of other things, including how the CN community is responding to the voice actors, which the title and or thumbnail probably already spoil, but yeah, the CN community is mocking these union voice actors. But yeah, starting with this censorship stuff, what may be the latest attempts at damage control, although before we read this, let me just mention, I don't believe there's conclusive evidence to what's going on here for sure, so ultimately make up your own conclusions on this, but let's take a look. We can see this post from 9 hours ago, reading, "Threads being mass reported." Funny enough, it looks like something did happen here too, as the post is now awaiting moderator approval. The OP elaborating on this in the comments, saying, "The post where this user pointed out the issue, they've also made a list of posts being mass reported. Edit another list with more posts being mass reported. Edit 2 in case the content of my post also gets deleted. Here's what it said. As noticed by user living a lost life in a recent post, any threads related to the strike, the questionable behavior of some VAs, SAG-AFTRA, and even posts made by VAs who came here to clarify things, quote unquote, are being mass reported by some people. Is there anything the mods can do? Actually, is there a way to contact them? Because I find it crazy that we're being silenced in a place meant for discussing stuff. We're now finally getting some answers on what's been happening these last 6 months or so, and it seems some people aren't happy about that. Edit 3. 20 posts all addressing the VA situation have been nuked so far. It's a very odd situation because what's happening is these posts are having the content removed and having this message that we saw earlier being put on there, that being post is waiting moderator approval. However, some of the top posts calling out the VAs are still up there, so I'm really not sure what's going on. Perhaps there was also a mass reporting attempt on those too, and they just didn't succeed. Like I said earlier, come to your own conclusions. Let's take a look at this response. Reads, "There's also a bunch of people coincidentally showing up to chime in on the topic in favor of SAG that haven't been on the sub before. For example, this fish person, no activity in Genshin subs in a very long time, but suddenly since the last 2 days, 100 plus comments defending SAG and the strike." Checking out that person's profile, we can see it reads, "Plural trans woman. There are posts in here from years ago I would heavily disagree with now. I'll clean them out soon. I just don't use Reddit a lot." Yeah, that's funny. Says they don't use Reddit a lot, but now apparently has 100 plus posts from the last few days defending corruption. And indeed, I'm not going to go through all this. We'll literally scroll for just like 5 seconds, but you can see their defense posts go on and on and on and on and on. But yeah, enough of that. I think we get the point. That being how the Genshin community is providing additional evidence that there is potentially a mass reporting attempt going on to censor and bring down posts that are critical of the union VAs and the union itself, as well as an influx of people flooding over there to also attempt to defend the union. And now, I've repeatedly mentioned for you to please form your own conclusion on that stuff and consider letting me know what you think about it all in the comments. Moving on to the next section, let's take a look at the Chinese community's response to the union VAs, with the preface that being, these comments from the CN community came from a few days ago, so at the very start of this whole situation. In other words, things have also gotten a lot worse since then, so you can imagine how these sort of comments would probably be mocking the VAs even harder if we had the more recent ones, but still, let's take a look. This should be amusing. In a set of messages from Billy about a video going over this current situation, but once again from a few days ago, with comments collected and posted by the user Boijing, so thank you for collecting those comments. And so the first part of this seems to be the CN users responding specifically to the statement issued by John Patnoid, that being the first VA for Kenichi, who got replaced by Jacob Takanashi. Having all this to say about John Patnoid's statement. You view the character you voiced, Kenichi, as your own, but you didn't learn any of his good qualities. This is the price of the Turnfire. Exactly on point. And Kenichi is Kenichi, not anyone else. Next set saying, this is so pathetic. Saying, quote unquote, my character is just ridiculous. This is the funniest / most ridiculous part of the tweet. I've saw people said that non-CN VAs, especially EN VAs, love to tie themselves to the characters. They use the players love the characters to promote themselves, even saying I/me when talking about their characters. It's ridiculous. Sarcasm, a success. The EN VAs have successfully guarded their mission of protecting their human jobs from AI. Hoyo didn't use AI, they just changed the VA. Very reasonable. And so this next set of messages seems to be the CN users responding specifically to the reactions from other VAs who are harassing Jacob Takanashi. The ex-VAs get replaced and won't feed their voice to AI. The new VA gets a job. The players get the complete gaming experience. Everyone gets what they want. I don't get what the community is complaining about. The union is leading this. They're going to stir things up when they don't get what they want, but this time they're not going to get it no matter how much noise they make. It's those VAs again? Wow. Do they think we play the game for a specific VA? Even if it is for the VA, it's for the JP VAs. But JP VAs aren't as bold and won't lash out to their employer. This can appear with JP VAs. I got Kenichi because of his JP VA. This is actually a pretty interesting point. If some people really do pull for characters, wish for characters because of specific VAs that they like, wouldn't the inverse also be true? That being, if people don't like the VA, they may actually not even want that character. There's already been top posts on the Genshin Impact subreddit saying that the EN VAs who are acting all crazy should get recast. And if Hoyoverse thinks that their sales are also getting potentially hurt by these VAs, then it sure will be interesting to see where things go from there. This one calling out Kareem Vodiger directly, saying, swap out Paimon's English VA please, so I can comfortably switch to EN dub. If I were Hoyo, I wouldn't wait any longer and recast too. For example, if you were building a house and got a construction team to build the house, but they went on a strike for some reason and refused to keep building, you're in a hurry to move in, but you decided to wait out of politeness. But 6 months later, they still haven't done anything. Any normal person would change a construction team to build their house. A great analogy. We've already been really patient with them for letting this go on for 6 months. But if they're still not working after so long, then what's the point of keeping them? You guys can't fire me, I need this job, but I just don't want to work yet. Is this what they mean? I think this is ridiculous. But this strange situation does feel normal when it's within their community. Yep, that's what they mean. A lot of people don't understand the situation. If you don't do the job, there's plenty of people that will do it, and within Hoyo's popularity, the people don't view you based on how famous you are. Even if they're a beginner, players will still play the game, because it's Hoyoverse. I really wish they would recast Paimon. Oh, another one. Even if they don't redo the current lines and just change the future ones would be fine. Paimon's English voice is too high-pitched. She sounds more like those little elves than a small child. Every time I use EN dub and listen to her, I feel like my head is exploding. There's probably technical issues. One is that she just have way too many lines to redo everything. And second, they can't find a suitable replacement quickly. Finally, this exchange reading, dang, ENVAs are kinda crazy. That's what American education does to you. Alright, well that was amusing. Let me know what you guys think about those comments in the comments here. And now moving on to what I think is probably the last update we'll have in this video. And it actually involves Jacob Takanashi once again himself. So check this out. I've got a tab open from this post from 2 hours ago titled, "Wow, I'm sure the VS will be nice to him now." Oh. The thing is, that post is actually 13 hours old. That's just an old tab that I still have open. And when we go to the current one from 13 hours ago, you can see this also got hit with that post is awaiting moderator approval thing that we discussed earlier in the video. Quite odd, isn't it? But what's this all about? Well, when we return to the old tab I have open, we can actually see the post still. And we got Jacob Takanashi here saying, "Hey, I know tensions are high, but don't frickin' do this. If you send death threats to anyone on my behalf, too far, man, too far. Sorry you had this happen to you, Kiba." Responding to a tweet from Kiba Walker, who presumably is a voice actress, I guess. And she says, "Someone named Kokira Kira thought this was the appropriate thing to send me this afternoon." We could see an email here. It says, "Do us all a favor and in your life. It would really help the VA industry if you and everyone who condemns Jacob taking over Kinich just ended yourselves all at once. Some people in the responses have questioned how authentic that email really may be, but focusing on what the OP says, wow, I'm sure the VAs will be nice to him now, we can see some more screenshots that they include. The next one being Little Kribo, who responds to Jacob Takanashi, saying, with respect, tensions would decrease significantly if you recognized and spoke publicly on the fact that voice actors aren't quote-unquote bullying you. If you truly didn't know about the strike, say so. If you did, say so. But voice actors are going to keep being attacked until then. The responses are not having this stuff. For example, a top response reads, I hope Jacob continues to take the high road with his tweets and not give in to the urge to go on a tirade against people harassing him. At some point, bullies who know the people they are bullying are not responding the way they want will soon give up. I'm also worried that he will decide to step down as Kenichi's VA because of the constant bullying. Hopefully he doesn't, but I wouldn't blame him. But no one wins this mess. The VAs have made things so much harder for themselves. Hope not. Stepping down now will make the rest of them think they can cyberbully anyone else who tries to replace a VA. Funny thing is, he didn't even try to replace. He got a job offer and took it. Another exchange reading, did not have Little Kribo joining in on my expectations. I'd think he would keep up with it, but not speak on it. Little Kribo has been going in on the new Kenichi and Oren's VA on Blue Sky, accusing them of lying. I'm glad Auroran's VA took a break from Twitter. Auroran's VA doesn't even belong in any drama. This man reached out to Jacob behind the scenes before engaging in any talks. The thing any professional should have done. Someone with that much class should definitely stay off Twitter. But I've taken time to look through Martin's involvement. Seems everyone's just playing devil's advocate and not caring about Jacob's side of things, the way everyone automatically sides with the union mob because they're already familiar with their striking history. Holy dragged out drama. Making these threats public isn't fixing either. Some PR training would have went a long way in this one. If you didn't know, say so. I didn't know. Wow, dude, you're a liar. Jacob did a good thing making it clear he doesn't condone violence. He only ever needs to do this once. Best thing he can do from now on is not reply to any of these moral policing losers. And this exchange reading, y'all need to tell your fans to stop attacking us. Y'all sent your fans to attack him. Cry and seethe. Ironically, he has no fans. Respectfully and kindly. Someone can clock me if I'm wrong. But this either is his first VA role or his most notable one. He was pretty much unknown until he was announced. Oh, absolutely. We've known him for all of like 4 days. He doesn't have loyal fans. These are just their own fans turning against them. Similarly to another comment we read, we'll take a look at this one that reads, Auroran VA. I talked to the VA, Jacob Takanashi, and he said he didn't know. Little Kribo. I don't believe he didn't know. Also Little Kribo. If you knew, say so. LMAO. And they have the face to demand him to make a statement for fans to follow for their sake after their treatment of him. I do not condone attacks against the VAs, but the fact they have the face to act like they're in a position to still demand things from him to save themselves is pathetic. While it was wrong, the only reason they are getting attacked is because they attacked him, and yet they still have no shame. Some VAs publicly shaming him by saying he's a terrible person, telling him to enjoy Genshin because he will never get another role. Believe that referencing the Kirby tweets. Or not tweets, but Blue Sky posts or whatever. Continuing, saying how disgusting his actions are and talking about how evil he is for stealing the role of someone who's refused to come to work for half a year when he doesn't even know what's going on. Little Kribo says, you need to recognize and tell your fans we aren't bullying you. Also, you're either lying to Nathan or you're both in on it together. So yeah, it looks like the SAG-AFTRA VAs and their defenders are really only making things worse. Now let's go back to Twitter. In a second, we've got to take a look at some more things going on with Jacob Takanashi. But on the topic of death threats, check out this death threat thingy I got from like 8 hours ago because it's hilarious. This guy sounds like such a loser. There was like a Ruby thread going around and out of nowhere, this guy brings me up saying, I blame the spiteful redacted known as Hirohei. Someone else, Tiger Monsoon, replies and says, how the heck is it Hirohei's fault? And then this guy goes off and says, Hirohei was pretty successful in tainting the well long ago. He literally made a Rule 34 sub for Ruby out of spite. That's not even true. It's a crazy thing to come up with. What the frick? Gets even crazier. He says, and the dude still does not shut the heck up about it, when he should be taken to the back of a shed and slaughtered like a kosher pig. Bro, I think I've made 2 Ruby videos in like the last year. To say I barely talk about Ruby would be an understatement. This guy's crazy. He then tags me and says, at Hirohei, there is a reason why that one fandom hates you. And and how many more fandoms and individuals see you as a neckbeard. You should have been kicked to the curb, but you are somehow still but you are somehow still active on YouTube. Touch some grass. The lack of self-awareness, bro. And people don't even view me as a neckbeard. In actuality, it's like what this person said. Either view me as a femboy twink or a racist, bigot, xenophobic, homophobic, bigot, chud, whateverist. So yeah, that loser from a second ago really needs to get it right. It's not that complicated. Anyways, I just thought that was kind of funny, especially given the timing of receiving a message like that right now. But now back to Jacob Takanashi, where he responded to that Kiba Walker person and condemned violence. Kiba Walker made this response to him that says, "I appreciate the repost and apology. However, like Little Karibo said, it would be very helpful if you made a post regarding the situation at hand for your fans to follow, because no matter what we say or do, we're going to keep getting attacked and threatened unless you do something. The ball is fully in your court now, and I hope that this can stop, but we just need to know if you knew that the role was empty because of strike, or if you didn't know. Doesn't matter about location. Anyone can see that this is going on." This comment didn't go well for Kiba Walker, as people responded saying things like, "Wow, to say the ball is quote-unquote in his court when 5 VAs or so sent their rabid fan bases to attack him is actually crazy. Foreigners aren't expected to strike for something their labor laws already protect them from." Kiba Walker responds saying, "No one sent fan bases to attack him. You realize that's what y'all are doing, right? Like, read the text straight up. No one at all said, go attack him for doing this. Your community is sending death threats and talking about people's dead relatives. How is that equivalent? BFR." But Kiba gets ratioed. People say, "This is so embarrassing. You guys literally brought this upon yourselves for this exact behavior. He has no obligation to tell you his business. Those threats are disgusting plus wrong, but don't sit here on his post threatening him after he just offended you." Another saying, "Funny how you people aren't demanding the other VAs to tell people not to send hate when they start everything." Then we got Little Karibo again saying, "The fandom is in a frenzy, and no matter what any other voice actor says, they're getting shouted down. I don't think it's fair to put it all in Jacob's corner," he says with a question mark. But unfortunately right now, he is the only person the fandom is likely to listen to. And lastly, there's this comment that reads, "No one can control their fans," and in this case, most people for this VA aren't his fans particularly. They just dislike people dogpiling him. But here's where it gets really crazy, and then seems to come to an abrupt end. This user Vexed says, "Reminder, none of these VAs know Jacob either, so why are they attacking him for taking the role? He didn't even know the strike was happening." This person responds and says, "You sure about that?" And then Kiba Walker says, "I know Jacob fairly well actually, lol." But Jacob Takanashi responds to her and refutes that, saying, "No disrespect, but we've had a handful of conversations about contracts and licensing and stuff. I'm sure you're a nice enough person, but I don't think we know each other quote-unquote fairly well. I don't mean that in a mean way, please don't take it that way, but we're basically strangers." Little Karibo and Kiba Walker both responding to Jacob there. Kiba saying, "I know you well enough to at least have some sort of knowledge of what's going on, and people are acting like we've never talked. So fairly was a bad term, that's my bad. I'm over here batting off people attacking everyone." And above that, we can see Little Karibo responding saying, "Genuinely, if you're interested in clarifying anything, I honestly think it should be whether you knew about the strike or not. It would go a long way toward clearing things up and easing tensions for everyone, not your familiarity with a person who is dealing with death threats." And this user Payel saying to Jacob, "Man, I feel really bad for you. I hope you're holding up well despite all of this." Finally, going back to this previous message that Little Karibo made, wherein Little Karibo had in part said, "With respect, tensions would decrease significantly if you recognized and spoke publicly on the fact that voice actors aren't quote-unquote bullying you." This user Winry responding, saying they are bullying him. They could have talked to him privately instead of making these mean public tweets, and showing a screenshot of this voice actor Jun Yoon in a tweet where he says, "Say, are you Japanese or Japanese American? Able to portray a 20s male character, can sing, have an excellent home studio. I've got a couple of colleagues in mind, but I would like to know more voice actors. Except that one guy." Of course, this is just one example of many of the various disparaging remarks we have seen directed towards Jacob Takanashi over the last number of days, many of which I covered in my previous videos on this topic. And lastly, it seems like at some point after Kiba Walker's discussion with Jacob Takanashi, she put her entire account into protected mode. And I think that'll do it for today's update. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think about all that stuff in the comments. Please also consider liking and or subscribing if you enjoyed the coverage. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.